All we can do is learn from it, own it, and then go, what are we going to do differently in this season? And that's the thing. Pain can be a teacher, but it doesn't have to be your master. It doesn't have to be your motivator, your key driver. We can teach and condition ourselves, and for it to become our identity, that being well, being strong, being grounded in ourselves and in our lives can be the thing that calls us forward. We can become the person that when our intuition speaks, when our life speaks, or when that knowing comes that something needs to change, that we start to act on it from that place, that we start to allow that guidance to show up in how we're thinking, talking, and acting and moving, in our behavior and our habits. Because here's the thing, when life gives you a message and you listen, it's more likely to speak to you more often. It's more likely to become a guide that you can tune into, that you can trust, and trust that you, because Indigenous ways of being and doing is that we don't need to know everything. We are not the sole source of wisdom and guidance in our own lives. There are things at play that are much bigger than us, that are much smarter and more knowledgeable than us. And there's a level of freedom in that. It's not about completely switching off and this idea of manifesting where we just sit, we think, we speak affirmations, and then we wait. No, this isn't what we're doing. This is a balance between us taking responsibility and being self-determined and sovereign in how we're showing up. But we're also releasing and surrendering control of the outcome to the universe, to the ancestors, to God, to whatever your belief system is that if I show up and do my part, if I listen, I align, and I do the best I can with what I have, that life will meet me, that when life sees what I'm working on, it will help me get there further. When I not only say to the universe what I want, or when the universe calls me forward, I listen and I take action, it will support me with resources, guidance, more wisdom, more direction, whatever the thing is. But what I know to be true is when you start to listen, you start to align, and you start to activate and awaken from that place of truth, that place of calling and wisdom. And then you start to alchemize, you start to take action, you start to move. Things start to happen for you. You might call it luck, you might call it synchronicity, you might just start to wonder, hold on. And it might start to create a little bit of a fear, because it's like, can I really do this? Because more people are comfortable with their own shit and their dysfunction than they are their power and their purpose and their potential. So too often we wait until suffering forces us to act, but the warrior heart teaches us that joy, calling, and desire can be just as strong a driver, and it's far more nourishing to our spirit. It can be scary, it can be a huge change, and yet the gift and the source of our driver, the source of what calls us and compels us forward, is far more sustainable. It is far more healing, and we can amplify into the world from a beautiful place rather than our pain. So this day is about learning to move not only from your pain but towards your joy. Both are seeds that show us where life is calling us back into alignment. And that's the thing. Often a lot of our pain comes from being out of alignment, from knowing that there's a truth that we're not living, and yet somehow we've convinced ourselves we've become comfortable, or out of safety or necessity, we've become a version of ourselves, and we've created a life that just doesn't sit well. It's like a snake shedding its skin. We know that who we are, it just doesn't fit right. The clothes, the way we talk, the choices that we make, the route we take to work, we start to wake up and go, this just doesn't feel right. And for some people, they'll ignore that until they no longer can. But we want to get to a point where we're not waiting for that point. We're not waiting for the implosion or the war, the battle, the hospitalization, the eviction, like whatever your thing is. We're not waiting until crisis before we move. We want to become someone that when life gives us that knowledge or that nudge, that knowing, or our spirit, that something needs to shift, we have the courage to sit with that and then move from that place.